Well, here we go. Let's see. We left off with Thane's journey taking a turn that's going to lead to some sort of conclusion. Some sort of powerful conclusion. Now, time to see what Devon is up to. The planner. It was early morning. The sky in the early morning had an odd air about it, and from my position on this roof I could get a nice good look at it. Wasn't sure why I was on the roof of an abandoned building. I guess if I had to diagnose this random whim of mine, I liked pacing around. I liked pacing around in the open air. Pacing without wearing a face mask or a hoodie. But I needed to lay low. Now more than ever. Up on the roof of this abandoned building, nobody would see me up here. There were taller buildings than this, sure, but they weren't in this area of Panthea. So here I could pace with relative privacy. Pace to try and clear my mind. Though that was a sketchy prospect. It would take a lot more than just pacing to calm myself now. I mean, holy shit. Holy shit was I trash. Never held myself in the highest esteem. But this was a new low. I had performed, to put it simply, pathetically. I could feel the iron grip of the spiral. If I lost focus for even a second, I could find myself spiraling into it. What had I done? How had I messed things up this drastically? The poly job. That was... I mean... wow. Wow. No part of that went as planned. It was truly incredible how absolutely complete my failure was. How much of a joke of an assassin was I? My disappointment was immeasurable and my day is ruined. I would be laughed out of the assassin community. I'm banned from AssassinCon 2020. I mean, not like there was an assassin community. AssCon. But if there was, I'd be laughed out of it, for sure. And you know, if it was just this, maybe I'd get over it. But this was coming off the heels of my failure to kill Locke. My failure to fool the cops in the latest Cock Robin killings. It felt weird to refer to it as slipping. And it's not like I ever had a golden standard of assassination to live up to. But damn it, I could do my job. I could kill the person I meant to. It was a base level of competence at the very simple job of murdering people, and now even that was slipping away from me. Fuck. How had we gotten here? I mean, really? How had I messed those hits up? No, I knew how I messed them up. Those failures had very deliberate and specific causes. How did I get here? Into the assassination business? But this was my one job, a job apparently I wasn't suited for. I could feel myself slipping. Slipping back in time. Slipping to the start of this whole thing. That night. That damn night at my lowest point at that damned bar. The idiot who was harassing me, calling me worthless and pathetic. I started by just striking him once. A simple punch to shut him up. He was following me out of the bar, but, you know, coming at me. He had started to shove me around. What was I supposed to do? So I hit him once. Across the face, just to get him to shut up. Then I kept walking. I thought it was over. But then that asshole had a switchblade on him. Ran at me. If I hadn't turned around in time, who knows what he would have done. As it was, he only stabbed me a bit in the side. Then I just flew into a rage. I'd been suppressing a lot for a while, and he was the perfect outlet for all of it. I reached out at his throat. Just started squeezing. Strangling. Punched me once or twice in the side, but it was faint resistance. I wasn't trying to kill him. I was just trying to show him I wasn't joking around. But I wasn't mindful. Let go, threw him back to the ground. I thought that was it. Continued to walk away. I was done with that scum. Then I didn't hear anything. Then I still didn't hear anything. Finally, I got nervous. Turned back around and approached his limp body. Couldn't be. Still, I checked for vitals. To my horror, I couldn't find any. Without my knowledge, my intent, I had accidentally choked the man to death. I learned later that the man was already in poor health, diagnosed with a rather disastrous disease. In fact, his inability to pay for treatment was the likely reason he was spending drunken nights provoking fights with strangers. That's sad. We all have our demons. Anyways, I began to freak out. This was bad. Real bad. I couldn't even play this off as manslaughter, something with a light sentence that could be swept away. This was murder. I had killed, again. I'd go away for a long time for this. First I thought about trying to hide the evidence. Cover up my crimes. Maybe flee the city. But just as soon as I had those thoughts, I gave up on them. I was tired. Man was right, my existence was aimless. I couldn't keep running, or hiding, or fighting. I was too exhausted. Prison felt right for me. So there in that abandoned street in the dead of the night, I called 911. I told them what I did. They listened quietly. Then I heard a soft voice on the other side. They said they'd come and pick me up immediately. Then I just waited. Waited on that curbside. Waiting there, I felt content. It was strange. Really strange. Regardless, that feeling wouldn't last forever. It wouldn't last particularly long. Soon enough, a police cruiser rolled right up. Out of the vehicle stepped Chief of Police Ariane. You, Devon. I just nodded. I didn't know what to say. The chief looked at the body. Then back to me. Back to the body. Then she sighed. All right then. Get in. I didn't have to be told twice. Aimlessly, I made my way into the back of the police car. Ariane went back to the driver's seat. And we drove away. At the time, I thought it a bit strange. Shouldn't somebody be looking at the body? Do officers typically arrive by themselves like this? At the very least, I thought I would be in cuffs. Those concerns, how to put it, they were muted. They were thoughts I was having, sure, but I didn't actually care about any of them. Barely acknowledged them. I was far more concerned with every other aspect of my situation. The drive was long, silent. I just looked out at Panthea, as it was the dead of the night. Everything probably muted. Thought about how it could easily be the last time I saw these sights. Like, if it was a bit of a clearer mind, it might be thinking about why am I not immediately in cuffs? Under arrest? Why is there more police response than one person? But he's in a state of more, I give up on everything. Do whatever. You tell me to get in, I will. No clue where we're going, but this is my life now. The chief, for her part, stayed equally silent. No badgering. No questioning. She just drove ahead with a steely look in her eyes. Eventually we arrived at the police station. I could see it out the window. It didn't look like many were there. Which made sense. It was pretty late. For a few moments Ariane just had the police car parked outside. We both merely looked out at the police station. Then I heard a sigh come from the front seat. Then some faint mutterings, made to nobody in particular. This is as good of a chance as we'll get. Fine then, we're doing this. Then I heard her take out her phone. There was some typing. A few minutes later, the car started moving. Moving away from the police station. I was unsure what was happening. Part of me was too nervous to ask. I figured at this point, what's the worst that could happen? Where are we going? Just be quiet. This will not take long. And that shut me up pretty quickly. The chief's tone made it perfectly clear she wasn't in the mood for a bunch of meaningless questions. If he had to give me one thing, I knew how to shut up when I needed to. So I stayed quiet as the car continued to travel through the night city. Now those muted questions started to come to the forefront. This. know much, but I knew this wasn't right. This wasn't normal. What was going on? I had no clue. Honestly speaking, I thought I was being taken to be murdered. I know it doesn't make much sense, but that's just what crossed my mind at the time. I also thought that all this must have something to do with Odin. I mean, it had to, right? It felt like the only explanation. Whatever the case, I knew I didn't like what was happening. I didn't need to worry for long. Soon enough, we had reached our destination. We'd come to a building I barely recognized. I knew it was important, but I couldn't place it. Get out. Again, no need to tell me twice. No way out of the police cruiser. So did Chief Ariane. Follow me. We're going to see Aija, aren't we? And like that, she led me forwards. As we entered the empty building, I suddenly remembered. This was the governor's office. Why? What were we doing here? It didn't make sense to me. But at this point, I was just in for the ride. I walked forwards, and I noticed Ariane moving over to a painting. She reached under it and pressed something. Then we continued down the hallway. Finally, we found ourselves at Governor Aija's office. Miss Aija took a moment to look me over. Then she spoke up. Is this him? Of course. She looked me over once more. Well, aren't we feeling judgy tonight? Oh, please, Ariane, it's an understandable reaction. Is that reaction not the very reason it is him? You have me there. All right. Aija took a moment to straighten her posture in the chair. Hello there. I'm Governor Aija. I know. I mean, hi. Nice to meet you. It is nice to meet you, too. Even if these aren't the most ideal circumstances. Yeah. Speaking of, it is my understanding that you are here because Ariane picked you up for a rather serious crime. I couldn't meet her eyes. I don't know why, it's just... because I just had an aversion to admitting what I had done. Devon? Please, could you tell me what you did? There's no need for judgment. I'm not going to criticize you. This isn't some weird arcane punishment. I just want to hear you explain what happened. I didn't know what to say. I was so unclear on what was happening. But I was being offered a chance to confess? To repent. I wasn't particularly religious. Still, I felt like it was the right thing to do. Finally found that I wanted to. Like this was the last chance I'd get to do this. So I talked. I explained myself. I told the whole story from how I had been lingering away at my apartment, to the encounter at the bar, to my eventual decision to call the police. I didn't filter anything. I didn't make excuses. I just confessed. Spilled my heart out. I maintained eye contact with Miss Aija the whole time when I told my story. And she held it back with me. And she was right. Her face didn't betray any feelings of judgment or revulsion. Then when I was finished, my face dropped to my hands. I didn't cry. I hadn't cried for many, many years. But I felt like it. Lowest point of your life and all that, it's understandable. It was a cathartic experience. And then after a pause, I heard Miss Aija speak up. Well now, that is a story. A very sorry story indeed, Devon. I'm sorry that had to happen to you. To me? Governor Aija, I wasn't the victim. Is that right? I can't say I condone your actions, Devon. Considering everything you've told me, I think you're also worthy of pity. Oh. Well, thank you, Governor? That's very nice of you to say. Chief Ariane just clicked her tongue. Damn drunkards. I'm so tired of their type. You would not believe how many crimes occur right outside of bars. The havoc they have wrought, the sadness they have caught. It is disgusting. How very poetic of you, Ariane. Now, Ariane. Let's not let personal feelings creep into things. The important thing is, one man's life is ended and another's is irreversibly tainted. Ariane just looked down, a sour look plastered across her face. Even I could tell that this situation was unquestionably bizarre, and my curiosity was starting to get the best of me. Governor Aija. So, Devon, you've told us about yourself. Would you now like us to talk about you? Huh? To explain what we know about you. I guess? Good. For starters, we know your last name. Devon Desma. I didn't say anything. It's not like I was trying to hide that or anything. But still, hearing my full name, it wasn't a pleasant experience. Middle son of Odin Desma, Panthea's local tycoon. However, in an act of shocking callousness, the man disowned you as his son. Called you all sorts of names. Disappointment. Unworthy. Pathetic. Without meaning to, I flinched. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Let's just stick to the facts, okay, Aija? I was just trying to. Forget it. Point is, Odin has tossed you to the curb. That wasn't enough for him. A man that prideful doesn't like the idea of having a failure of a son. Doesn't gel well with his self-image. And so he deployed his considerable wealth to effectively scrub your existence away. You can't actually erase a person's existence, of course, but you can do so in most ways that matter. And of course he had your help, or at least your permission, in this exercise. So now you are, in many senses, a non-existent man. Someone who doesn't exist, not to the public at least. I guess. That is rare. That is valuable. It is. I didn't know what they were getting at. Moving on, you were also awarded for your time in the military. In fact, you received a rather prestigious reward. Yeah, that's right. Army man, huh? Thank you for your service. That's not necessary. Really, I didn't do much. Didn't do much? That doesn't seem right. Because according to the award, you single-handedly held one of our country's bases. Well, that doesn't seem like much to you. Well, that's a lot. I was lucky. Lucky? Is that right? Maybe. But I must say you must be quite lucky to have pulled off everything that you did that fateful night. And I've been reading some reports about the incident as you've been making your way here. She has access to those reports? According to the eyewitnesses, there was a lot more on your side than just luck. I guess. You guess? Yes, okay, I'm good at killing. Happy? Shit at most things, but don't you worry, I was really good at murdering all those men. Hell, I'm so good I can kill when I don't even try. Case in point. I gestured all around me. Miss Aija and Ariane just stared at me. Guess my outburst was a little weird. You say that like it's a bad thing. Huh? You have a self-professed skill, and yet you are treating it as a negative. Well, I mean, killing is a bad thing. Is it? Huh? I didn't know what to say. It was such a simple question, seemingly, and yet I couldn't find a good answer for it. I spent more than a couple of moments in silence just grasping around for an answer. Then Aija spoke up. Devon, I'm sure you're wondering why you were brought here. I am. Miss Aija just nodded to this. You see, Devon, to me it looks like you're trying to throw away your life. I don't think that's right. What? I didn't even know how to respond to this. You're a skilled combatant, Devon. Just eyeing you, I can tell that your physical shape is admirable. That's after wasting away, drinking, and drivelessness. I can only imagine what you'd be like if you applied that body from a young age. Any sport you'd probably have been perfect for, not to mention the technical skills you possess. Your time in the army was valuable learning, and you learned it in record time. You're the body and skills of a perfect soldier. To mention the blood of a Desma, lineage most would envy uncontrollably. That isn't. Governor Aija put up her hand. Ariane, please. Some tact. Just being honest. So Aija shot Ariane a dirty look. Then she turned back to me. Forget all that. Devon, every life is valuable. None should be thrown away. But I'm a killer. So, You're saying just because you've entered other lives, your own life is not valuable? Where exactly is the logic in that? If anything, your life is more valuable. You carry those you've killed with you. That's... I had never thought about it like that. Still, I couldn't understand what Miss Aija was saying back then. I'm useless. Useless. Devon, Ariane just explained how useful you are. This delusion that your life has no purpose. It's just that. A delusion. It's exactly one way your life could be worthless, Devon. That's if you throw it away, right here and now. Miss Aija's words stung. Was I? Being a coward? Was I running away? Wait a second. But then was she saying I shouldn't have called the police? Why did you bring me here? Huh? I'm not stupid. No, you brought me here for a reason. So why? Miss Aija and Ariane exchanged a look. A silent contest of sorts. Then Miss Aija turned back to me. Because I believe in second chances. Huh? If we did nothing. If we do nothing. You could go to jail. Be charged with this crime. You'd probably be found guilty. Murder like this could be thrown away for life. Spend the rest of the many, many years you had left rotting away in some cell. I don't think that's for the best. To me, that's a waste. A waste to everybody. Instead, I want to put you to use. To give you a purpose. A purpose. You want to make things right? Then you should work for it. Put your skills to good use, for once. I don't understand. What are you saying? Devon, how do you view Panthea? Huh? Do you view it as a good city? It took a moment to think. I never really considered it. I considered everything I knew. What I saw around. Not really. I mean, I want it to be. But it's not. Exactly. You're exactly right, Devon. Few people get it right on their first try like that. Very insightful. So if you got that one right, maybe you'll know the answer to this. You know why Panthea isn't what it could be? Instantly I knew that I didn't know the answer to this one. I shook my head. One word. Conflict. 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 The eternal human element. The unavoidable barrier. For Panthea to evolve, it needs to make progress. With all the conflict around, it's impossible. Huh. I don't think I get it. You do not get why conflict is a bad thing. No? Okay. Maybe this story will make it a little clearer. You know, my brother was a good man. Honest man. A true angel. He was a hard worker. He cared for his family. He had dreams. All that came to a sudden stop one day. Do you know why? No. It's a really, really, really stupid conflict. Because some Shikome hotshot wanted to score big against the Duats. Because some Shikome idiots didn't know how bombs work. Because of that, 3 innocent civilians died that day, including my brother. Up until now, Chief Ariane had only spoken in an even-keel, low voice. But all of a sudden I started to hear the sparks of a barely contained fury coming from her. In front of me I noticed Governor Aija turning away. She put one hand to her mouth and her eyes were clenched shut. It was clear this death had affected them both. That's the truth about conflict. It's ugly. It's messy. It harms everyone. As below, so above. The same principle holds true in a much less grave way in politics. Aija had seemingly composed herself once again. To make Panthea live up to what it could be, changes need to be made. Big changes. Sweeping changes. Changes that many would oppose, as either it would put themselves in jeopardy, because change scares them. Most importantly, to make that change, you need power. And power will always attract conflict. Because everybody wants power. Everybody fights for it. Everybody struggles to keep it. Before you know it, the power is never used. Nothing changes. Conflict rages. Panthea burns. See the picture pretty clearly. Couldn't say Aija was wrong. Everything she was saying, it lined up perfectly with what I believed. What I had learned. But left one major question. Big changes, sweeping changes. Power attracts conflict, but power also makes changes. Everybody wants power, everybody fights for it, everyone struggles to keep it. The more you struggle for power, the less you can do with the power. That's more meaningful than you might expect at first glance. If you think about it, how much do people in power in our country spend just continually, single-mindedly focused on keeping power rather than using that power to make changes? They never have enough power. But they need you to give them more money to win the next elections bigger, so they can have more power. But it's not going to be enough power. They'll find a reason to needle you for more campaign donations. So, Ariane's eyebrows furrowed, but Miss Aija put up a simple hand. What exactly are you asking us, Devon? You're right. That all sucks. But what I don't get is what any of this has to do with me. With us. Ah, well, about that. Aija sat back in her chair, uncomfortably moving around. We want you to stop the conflict. Ariane, what? Dislike this beating around the bush. Telling it to Devon straight. I still don't understand. Killing. Devon, you want to make Panthea a better place, right? Right? You want to dedicate your life to a good purpose, right? Uh-huh. Well then, good news. Miss Aija here is trying to make Panthea a better place for everybody. A safer place. A stabler place. But to do that, we need to handle these conflicts. Fortunately, a lot of these conflicts are hard to handle. There's one way to stop them for good. Finally, the implication was dawning on me. You're not saying. I do not suggest this lightly. I have weighed this decision for a while now. Very, very carefully. But whenever I do, I think of my childhood. I think of my late husband. I think of what I see when I pass by the streets every single day. I think of cases like yours. And the right thing to do becomes extremely clear. Change must happen. Change can't happen so long as there is conflict. The only way to settle conflict is with more violence. And so, you want to use me as a soldier. Neither Aija nor Ariane responded. Their faces told the story. Of course. It all made sense now. Devon, I said that life is valuable, and I believe that. So then by that same token, can't deaths be even more valuable? It is a horrible plan I'm proposing, but I truly believe it is the best way. No, the only way to create a Panthea without conflict, without suffering. But the only way I can do it is with your help. I thought about everything Aija had said, and what my life had become. I believed in. Now, when making major life decisions, you'd think that you have to weigh them extremely carefully. That you need a lot of thought to come to the right choice. But no, it's more the opposite. At your junctures, the right option actually tends to come to you pretty instantly. Okay, I'm in. For a moment, surprise covered Aisha's face. Then it shifted into a smile. Excellent. Like that, the anti-conflict trio was created. Another Tremurti. Make Panthea a better place, we'd all do our part. We'd put out conflicts. We'd make the city a better place. So Ariane really does know more than she's letting on. Based on our interactions with her in Laverna's path, it took a while to get everything into place. For starters, we needed to deal with the little fact that I had strangled someone in the middle of an alley. Luckily for me, a member of our trio was the chief of police. She outsourced that case to a police officer that apparently she kept around only to be a gullible stooge. I think the name was Pandora or something? Oh, poor Pandora. Point is, Ariane pulled some strings and the case dissolved into nothingness. Force already had their hands full. Plenty of cases slipped through the cracks. The hope was that by the time we were done, that would no longer be the case. I also spent time becoming the perfect assassin, getting back in shape, researching effective methods, acquiring the proper equipment. The days I dealt with some immediate and reprehensible targets, I took to assassinating people pretty quickly. It wasn't a case where my first few objectives were bungled training steps I needed to take. On my very first victim, I was efficient. However, we quickly ran into a problem. Aija realized that if everyone who stood in her way happened to die in an unexplained assassination case, things would start looking pretty bad before long. So we had to come up with a workaround. Hence, the Cock Robin murders were born. Looked like it was the work of a psychotic serial killer, then things would become far less suspicious. Who cared about motive? It was just the work of some psycho. Of course, that would only work if the Cock Robin murders did happen to random people. I was pretty uncomfortable with the idea of just killing random strangers from different walks of life, as was Miss Aija. Oh shit, was that Ariane's role? Is she planning this stuff? Luckily, Chief Ariane came in with a pretty clever idea. She was, of course, a police officer, meaning she came across her fair share of dead bodies herself. So then the plan was clear. Ariane and I would both become the Cock Robin killer. Oh shit. Ariane would set up the key items at a variety of crime scenes. Ones that looked unlikely to be solved, ones that threw off the scent. When somebody needed to be dealt with, I would fill in the next verse. It was an efficient system. It worked like a charm. That was my job. That was my life. That was my purpose. That was how I got here. And now, my purpose, my life, my job, it was all in shambles. This was the one thing that gave me worth. The one good thing I'd ever done. Were it not for that fateful night. Were it not for Miss Aija's generosity. Not for Chief Ariane's resourcefulness, I would have died alone and unloved. I would have died never having done anything of worth. I would have lived a pointless existence. Without my job, my life, my purpose. I'd slip right back to that pointless existence. Without anything to offer. Any meaningful achievements, firmly in the past. All of a sudden my spiral was interrupted. I felt a vibration. Huh? I was so out of it I didn't realize the very obvious truth. This was my phone. However, as I came to that realization, the momentary shock I felt dissolved into something far more insidious. A deep-seated fear. Inability to even look at the screen. But I had to. I didn't want to, but I had to. If I didn't, things would be worse. Though my arm resisted, I managed to pull out my phone. Looked at the screen. Sure enough, it was Aija. I was waiting for this. I hadn't yet had a chance to actually have a conversation with her. This wasn't quite right. I didn't want to talk to her. I was waiting for her to contact me. Definitely didn't make things better. But what else could I do? I couldn't bring myself to contact her. I'm not that strong. I had to pick up. I didn't. I was truly useless. I steeled myself. Whatever's on either side of that phone, I deserved it. I'd be fine. I'd take my scolding and move on. Hell, I was Odin's son. I was no stranger to scoldings. This would be a cakewalk. Besides, Miss Aija was nice. She was understanding. I explained myself properly. While I couldn't expect not to be berated, maybe she'd understand. Hello? Devon? Yes. What the fuck is wrong with you? Instantly my defenses shattered. I said I'd be fine. I thought I'd be fine. I was lying. What was wrong with me? Odin could beat me on the daily and not achieve results Miss Aija just did with a single sentence. For whatever reason, I was already feeling queasy, but I held on. What do you mean? What do I mean? Did I stutter? I asked you, Devon, what exactly the fuck is wrong with you? Well, Miss Aija, it's entirely my fault, but I can explain. I think Polly knew he was going to be assassinated. When I broke in, he had bodyguards. Just one, he had 2 bodyguards. I know patrol for that, check for that. That's the thing, I did. Used Art's help to track his purchasing history. Did reconnaissance. Gathered intel. For the life of me, I didn't find hide nor hair that he had bodyguards. They were up, really late at night. Oh, I guess when I was confronted with them, I just panicked. I tried to salvage the mission. Thought if I didn't know, I just didn't spill blood, the hanging story could still work. I didn't use my gun until too late. If I just shot first and asked questions later, this never would have happened. That's entirely my bad. And, well, when it was 3 versus 1, even still I could have won. But the cops were coming, and you said I'm your weapon, right? No use to you as a weapon when I'm in jail. We got Ariana on our side, but if I was found at that house, there was no getting away. No, I failed this mission. I'm still able to help out for the future. You're useless to me as a weapon if you're compromised. So Aija shouted in an angry tone that I hadn't heard from her before. She was very upset. Compromised? Are you saying, did Polly recognize me? Because that can be dealt with. I mean, the Polly hit is still on, so there are photos. I couldn't think of a more disheartening 3 words. What? There are photos. Photos that place you at the scene of the crime. Uh-huh. No, that's not possible. The whole time I was locked in combat with the... Obviously this combat couldn't have been that intense if somebody was able to get a picture of you. I had no response. This was devastating. How do you know this? Huh. How do I know this? I was shown the photo. I was also shown another photo taken of you. A photo taken of you and me. Together. Do you know what this means? Yes. What does it mean? It means I'm compromised. Precisely. I had no words. I had no arguments. I had nothing. If this was in the hands of a journalist, we'd truly be fucked. So, wait, it's not? No, just some opportunistic asshole. Don't ask me how he got both of these photos. I don't want to think about it too much. Luckily, we're dealing with rats. Rats can be exterminated. At present, this particular rat is trying to use these photos to extort me. That's horrible. Let me handle this. I'll make sure this guy never... No. But what part of no don't you get? Moron, what don't you understand? This guy knows about our connection. He's been stalking us. He's probably expecting you to make a move. I think he won't account for that. But then, what can I do? Nothing. You can do nothing. Just gonna give in to this guy's demands? Did I just say that? No. Right. Luckily, there's another person I can turn to at a time like this. They're none too happy with me at the moment, thanks to your little screw-up. You're turning to Art. At this point, he's the brother less likely to screw this up. I'm giving up a lot by asking for his assistance. However, apparently, he has a contact with the Duats. Using him as an intermediary, they will handle things. Yes, I've resorted to consorting with the Duats of all people. This is how low you've dragged me. Hold on a second. I knew I was in the doghouse, but there was something I couldn't help but bring up. Art has a way to put out a hit other than you. Art has a way to put out a hit other than... What? Then why was he willing to pay so much to kill Polly through me? Finally, a sensible question. I had a similar concern. Apparently, Art had reasons to believe that he was not the only desperate brother with a Duat informant. Though he himself admits this is groundless suspicion, one of very little evidence. Still, he wanted to avoid the chance that Polly would hear of his own hit through the network, thus using us. Oh, guess that made sense. But did Polly really have a direct contact? I wasn't sure how much sense that made to me. Though it made perfect sense that Art would think that. Okay then, so what should I do? What should you do? Easy. Nothing. Nothing. Aija, God, how do you not get it already? Are you actually incapable? You are exposed. You are a liability. Can't have anything to do with you. Hell, this conversation is a risk. Just having it because it's even more risky to not tell you verbally that you need to get your shit together. I heard Aija sigh on the other side of the call. Look. We'll reconvene and see what our options moving forward are soon enough. See if we can salvage things. Meantime, please, just keep your head down. You rent a room at a motel. Get some rest. Get your head right. Okay. Devon, don't give me that tone. Answer affirmatively. Okay, Miss Aija. Good. We'll talk soon. Don't call me. I'll call you. I just stared at nothing. Couldn't bear to think. Because if I did, I'd have to process what just happened. To face the reality of this situation. I have to know just how massively I had screwed everything up. God, fuck. I knew this would happen. It was only a matter of time. Couldn't be trusted with this. I mean, fucking hell, what was I thinking? Saving Panthea. Me. Ridiculous. Like clockwork, I'd managed to screw it up. I was exposed. My secret identity, my one asset, was gone. Now Miss Aija was going to discard me. I was useless to her. Useless. I was useless, period. Never did any purpose in life. Until now I had found the one good thing I could do. I ruined that too. Stupid Devon, stupid. Why hadn't I checked security more thoroughly? Sloppy. Arrogance. Once again I underestimated Polly. Once again Art had gotten me into this shitty situation. Why hadn't I taken out my gun in that house sooner? Why hadn't I stayed and finished the job? Screw the police. I was a weapon that didn't miss. I was a Gungiri. Should have finished the job. Consequences be damned. And I didn't. Because I can't. Given any sort of responsibility, I'd screw it up. I started to get a physical headache. Fuck. Sorts of memories started flashing through my head. Polly making fun of me. Failed tests. Art's betrayal. Odin berating me. The day I spent in the iron coffin. The coffin's coldness. My failed attempt to escape from it all. The day I left the Daysma household seriously. My time at the military. The lunches I ate alone. The soldiers I killed in the raid. Man after man after man that I shot. The cold feeling of the badge against my chest. The crampness of the apartment. Odin telling me he was erasing my existence. My hollow acceptance of it. The nights I spent at the bar. How wordlessly I got into that police car. Reading the Cock Robin poem. Murdering. And murdering. And murdering. All the sleepless nights every night in that same cramped room. All spun in my head, jumping from one topic to the next. It was uncontrollable. I was spiraling and I could do nothing. Ah! I hardly screamed out into the world. At what? At nothing? At it all? Who knows? All I know is what happened next. Again, moving forwards. I just couldn't handle it anymore. Spirals. There was nothing tethering me anymore. Everything I did ended in failure. There's one simple way to put it all away. Oh no, I walked forwards and forwards. Finally, I was at the edge. Feet were right at the edge of the building. I could see down. It wasn't that far of a drop. I mean, comparatively. But you really don't need to be too high to get to a fatal height for humans to fall from. You don't need to get too high to get humans to be nervous looking down. That's, death by falling off a building would hurt, right? More than a bullet to the head, maybe. I should know that. As an assassin, I should know what hurts and what doesn't. And I don't. Huh. Whatever. It's easier with a pistol anyways. I'd experience killing sinners. Took the classic 6-shooter out of my pocket and put it to my temple. Oh. This was it. I had enough. Now I can get out of the way for good. All I had to do was do what I was good at. Fuck this. I dropped my arm. Fuck this. Thank you for not ending there and not going any further with that. No. It's This wasn't right. This wasn't what I should be doing. I flashed back to what Miss Aija said. All lives are valuable, and deaths too could be valuable. I was sorry for my mistakes, so I'll just excuse myself from responsibility? Was I that big a coward? Apparently. But no, that's not right. None of this was right. I turned away from the ledge. What I should do instead was make things right. My purpose. Of course I still have my purpose. It was just slightly changed. But to make things normal, I just had to handle things. I just had to do my job. Stop the conflict. Maybe doing this would end things. This was my final volley of sorts. Last shot before I burned everything to the ground, including myself. Well, that's fine. I'm already a dead man walking. Future prospects couldn't scare me. My death would be valuable. I kept walking toward the stairs. Sorry, Miss Aija. For once, I wasn't going to be listening to your order. I was going to make things right. As almost a nervous tick, I began spinning the cylinder of my pistol. There were many people who stood in Miss Aija's way. That I could have eliminated. That I should have. Laverna. Locke. Polly and his 2 bodyguards. I was going to be careful. I was going to be smart. I was going to collect information. And then I was going to put things into action. I'd manipulate them all into showing up in one room. Then in a single instant, I'd wipe every last one of them out in one go. I looked at the gun I had in my hand. 6 bullets. 5 targets. Perfect. A shell for every head. 1 for insurance. That very nearly got quite dark. Hey, isn't that weird? Would it be darker if Devon did take the big fall, as opposed to him deciding to kill a bunch of people? That doesn't make much sense. Probably because people get their knickers twisted when suicide's on the table. Hey, but why? Why is it bad to joke about suicide, but a good murder joke gets the crowd a-rolling? Well, it's subjective, of course. Some people think you can joke about both, some think you can joke about neither. By and large, people find suicide taboo, murder not so much. It is because people might know others who have killed themselves. Or, depicting the thoughts. Like, there's very specific media rules for depicting suicide in media in a healthy manner. And come on, when you look at the statistics, the suicide rate isn't that much higher than the homicide rate. That's, if you ask me, homicide's the far more tragic event. Someone's killed, their lives, dreams, desires, plans, they're ended without any consent for the victim. With suicide, at least the person going gets to do it on their own terms, full consent. If some random innocent person was locked in solitary confinement for a month with no good justification, people would call that an injustice. Or prison in some places, but let's not get even further off topic. By that same right, if somebody chose to imprison themselves for a month, well, some might suspect that said person was a little loopy, but no one would really have a problem with it. What's the difference? Some people cry out that there's never a good reason to kill yourself. It's arrogance. Privilege of those with lives that didn't drive them to want to kill themselves. The remainder of somebody's life will almost certainly be filled with pain and misery. Of course it makes sense to cut that off at the pass. Now you're trying to move this from mental health conversation to, like, medically assisted suicide, which is... There are plenty of unjustified suicides, people who didn't have a good reason to check out. Sure, let's not pretend that that's the only type. And again, I don't particularly care about any sort of death, so perhaps I'm not the best person to speak on the topic. Alright, shit, we had a bet to settle, didn't we? Totally skipped my mind. So, are we on being an accomplice to the cock-robin killer? That little scene with Locke eavesdropping probably already gave you a decent idea, but it still wasn't completely clear. It's now as confirmed as you can get. She is. Which means you won our bet. Honestly, it was kind of a gimme. But hey, I need to throw out a few gimmies. Keeps you guessing. Leaves you vulnerable to when I pull a sneaky one on you. Don't let the wind go to your head, okay? We need another bet, though. Nothing else to bet on, something else. But hey, what do you know? Devon pretty clearly set out a mission statement at the end there, huh? Gathering Laverna, Vels, Locke, and the 2 guards in one room. I mean, there was some stuff about killing them, but you know. Who knows what will happen on that front? I'm more interested in betting on that first bit. Will Devon be able to gather those 5 individuals and himself in a room? What do you think? It's been a while. We've got a bet to settle. Will Devon complete his mission? Vote now in the link below. And until next time, till then.